All right, here we go again. Buckle up, rough roads ahead. So, we're trying to smooth out those rough roads. Now, California needs to be careful. I'm not sure what they're doing. There's a lot of deep state activity. And when I say deep state, there's also private sector deep state. So, what they use is that model that the CIA used where they hire Julia Childs, and it isn't just Hollywood and stars. So, they're out there hiring people, bringing them in, and they're just everyday people, but they get them to effectuate the corrupt mission. So I'm going to help you understand something about the psychic differences. Uh, being psychic is weird, and it's part of being an open channel. You've heard them talk about being an open channel. So things are coming in. Now, if you live a quiet life and you don't do what I do and really help the world and not really care about the repercussion of helping the world, again, even when I'm tough love, that's part of it, right? And the prophets were tough love, right? So psychic and prophet are very similar. It's just a lot of people don't understand what it is to be a prophet. Again, we have political prophets and things like that, which are a little bit different. Well, because they limit what they say. And I might limit what I say, but you're not to the level that it's detrimental to the prophet work. I can't be absolutely political. It doesn't work if you're a prophet. Thank you, Larry. So you ever remember that thing where it's not always about you? That's a psychic thing too. So when I walked by the window, not really at the window, but it was about, I guess I'm standing here where I was it's about 6-7 feet away. It was nighttime, and the curtain was open, and on the other side, in a psychic vision, was a shooter. But it's not always about me. You just have to read through it. I mean, it could be also about me because I am a target. But, what are you going to do about that? I mean, I doubt it's going to happen. I got cameras everywhere. The people that break in here probably wouldn't do something like that because it would upset the apple cart. So even though they've overcome my cameras at times, they're not going to do something like that. They would try to manipulate somebody to do that. That's part of hiring people in the community and trying to make them angry at me. But they can't use the high tech stuff at the same time because the hack would probably be seen. Right. That would tie them to a murder or a shooting or whatever it is. That's how spycraft works. And doesn't work at times because they can only go to a certain point. Generally, I mean, some have lost their mind. There's questions about that. So there's just this vision around it, kind of, and it doesn't mean that I'm actually seeing like an hallucination or something like that. It's just a mind's eye, is what they call it. So it's not always about you. So if you receive something, it could be about something else. And there's just so many different ways of deciphering it. And after doing it for 20 years, I'm kind of natural. And of course, it was natural before this. But I may have received a feeling to not say something. So again, it might tie into something else related to, and again, it isn't only related to Trump. I don't believe it's only related to Trump. Right? I believe that's a Secret Service wide, and maybe even further than that. Well, because once I see it, that means the thought's out there, and thought permeates, and at times can be sublime. So every person that's being possessed to do something like that may have received a vibration, or not every, but a certain percentage, to do something like that. So then it could affect the marshal service, it could affect the local police. So here, something just came up, so to help you understand something. The sheriff and the judge. Remember the sheriff shot that judge? The sheriff was possessed. So what happens is the sheriff and the judge are hated. That happens probably everywhere, right? Well, it was able to possess the mind, and it created a series of events where the sheriff killed the judge, and now the sheriff goes to jail. That's why I tell you not to mess around with what you're messing around with, because you're trying to alter powers by using anti-power, and you're screwing everything up. That's why the world's so screwed up. Right? The awareness went in the wrong direction. So the awareness should have went into healing, not in screwing up the world. Well, my curses or whatever, like I said, they go through God, and I wouldn't utter them unless God wanted me to utter them. Right? I don't know if they effectuate or not. I've tested them. They've tried to do some things through spycraft to alter the world after I curse them, to make it look like I'm cursing something else. So again, spycraft is very, very nasty. It's also witchcraft. And once upon a time, it was probably a lot less nasty. And a lot less self-serving. I kept it warm in here, so my sinuses are full, and my air purifier is worn on. I slept good, but I'm starting to fall asleep earlier. This is the way it used to be. Fall asleep about 10, get up about 5. Even when I was a kid, that's pretty much what I did. I'd be up for the rest of my family watching the Star Spangled Banner on PBS, making toast, and so I don't even know what I drink. I get coffee. I drank coffee as a kid. So you're right. So it's not always about you. So if you see something, or you get a hunch, or hackles in your neck, or whatever it is, it could be about the protectee, and it could be about a larger protectee. See how that works? Well, it's not only about me, and it's not only about the Secret Service. So it developed over time. It expands. But I know it's about the Secret Service, so I put it there. And really, you have to understand this part of it too. There's metaphysical due diligence. If you do your metaphysical due diligence, or if you do due diligence, it can trigger metaphysically and erase what they're doing to cause something like that. So just me posting it could have changed the paradigm enough where it won't happen. So that when they tell you not to talk about something, that's what's screwing everything up. If you talk about it, you're doing due diligence, So I was able to get my little thing. You can buy these, this is a smaller one, but it worked pretty good for this. And like I said, I have it on like an LB, a load bearing equipment, a Molly rig. It's a flexible bar, and I have pretty good lats, I still do even after all these years. But you can wrap it around your lats, like you're just under your arms, and it has a piece that fits on the end that closes the loop, and then you put your phone in there, so you don't have to hold your phone. I just put it in front of me as I walk, so that's nice, and I don't have to put all that extra equipment and gear on. I use the big gear because I'll carry other stuff with it. And I'll sometimes put a battery on it, and I'll use a hub so that the phone charges while I'm broadcasting. So I never lose charge on that. So it's still a little cold outside. It's not going to warm up till about midday today. We have almost a normal. I wouldn't say it's normal. It's actually going to stay colder than it would normally would. It would be more of a progressive heat warm up. It's going to be like all of a sudden change, like around 11 to midday. It's, I think, going to move pretty quick and warm up. And it's calling for like about 10 days of much warmer weather, which is real nice. I always track coming out of the winter months. It just gets you through February, Gets you through late January and February. It's about the coldest. I hope it holds out, because last year they were saying for early spring and it didn't happen. By the time we got to it, the whole forecast changed. But it's looking like an early spring again this year, which is possible. We have very cold weather, and that could trigger an early spring based upon what in the Midwest, based upon like smaller trends. Right? Because it didn't happen this year, but usually when you get actually it's happening now. When you get really cold days, you can get like an Indian summer is what they used to call it. A few days of really warm weather. So in the Midwest, there's this swing thing, right? As soon as it gets real cold, and again, maybe something recent. I can't remember if it was like that when I was at Fort Riley. When it gets real cold, then it wants to jump up for a few days. So it's you kind of get relief after it gets cold for a few days. But this time it stayed cold, so I don't know what that is going to do. It could be doing what I'm saying I see. Right. I'm really glad to get back to green tea. I hadn't drank green tea for a long time, couldn't get to it. Kudos to Instacart. When I had COVID, I must have pushed the button for a subscription, and I didn't remember any of it. Right, but last night, I guess I faintly remember, but I didn't remember that. It's like a yearly subscription, $99, and I really can't afford it right now. I'm purchasing a couple items, and I just really can't afford it. And I called the guy, and they were pretty good at refunding it. He tried to sell me a subscription to something else, but just standard what they do. And what I understand, they have to return it because there's been complaints. So he refunded the money already, so that's great. And apparently, Apple refunded the money on those iPhone and the iPad I couldn't use. There's just no way for me to use it. Right. Thank you very much. So again, I was trying to why I'm not saying anything. There was something I wanted to speak about, and I couldn't remember what it was, and I just remembered it. I'm still starting to drink my green tea. It just started. So as far as looking at what again, Trump's signing all these things, and it's whatever. But there's not quite a few, but there's a few that I don't think is going to make it. Right, it's not going to. As soon as they petition the court, it'll go away. So they're not going to be able to do it. The only question is where the court is on, immediately just turning people around. Now, we are in a national emergency. So again, even independent of that reasoning, you might be able to do some of what you're doing. Like you don't even need that communicable disease thing. So Pam Bondi needs to have her people look at that. When they go into the court, they're not to just say, because of this. So even in the absence of this, Your Honor, we're in a national emergency, that kind of thing. And then you explain to the court your reasoning and what the issue is. And the court might say, okay, we're going to let that go for 6 months. We'll let it go for a year. You'll keep the court apprised. They might even appoint a special master to monitor the program. Again, I brought this up before. And a special master can decide, what the overage is. Not to say that they'll limit you while you're operating, but there may be a point where the communicable disease, and they don't have to stand in front of an immigration judge, where we return. So again, be prepared to present different scenarios to the judge. And also be prepared to present different scenarios based upon what's going on right now. Because even in absence of the communicable disease, Your Honor, we believe that we would still be able to do this based upon the national emergency. And then you maybe want to explain the national emergency a little bit. Well, because a lot of times you go in there and you state your point of view, and if the judge nixes it, you don't have anything else to fall back on. You have to present the case to say, Your Honor, we have this communicable disease thing, but we believe in the absence of that, we still have a national emergency. We still have these issues. We can't even keep these immigrants safe. They're committing suicide because we don't have the resources. You just go through all of that, and then, they'll at least give you a time. I think they'll at least give you a short period of time to do it. I personally feel better that we build these facilities that I told you to build before, years ago, maybe even before Trump. I can't even remember when I started saying that. But you put somewhere around 2016. I can't remember if it was before or after. You put the judges on the border, and they, it's just like you have, because I think the concept of the initial appearance and the detention hearing and all of that. So all in one. Right? I think based upon how the judiciary does its business, I think it's at a certain point. I don't know if it's now. They'll require at least one appearance in front of a judge. So if you're gonna do everything on the, if you don't want to just turn them around, and I would just do it anyway. I would construct facilities. 'Cause I don't think you're going to let you do that forever. Right? So I would begin to plan to construct facilities on the border and move your immigration judges to the border. At a certain point, you might even move some things into Mexico. Down. I don't know where your embassies are, and you can even build another structure if there's a deal cut. Again, we're negotiating with Mexico. They can come along and we can agree to disagree on some things and agree on other things. If Mexico develops a region or several regions where these people remain in Mexico, go back to, right, and you could actually build facilities in those areas, so they don't have to leave that area to have the hearing. Now, if there's some reason that we accept their petition, obviously they'll come back into the United States, and then they'll start to, well, who knows what, for all we know, they may have helped the U.S. military or DEA, and they, present a case, hey, I helped the DEA and I'm in danger, and, and then we find out, yeah, that, this is somebody we missed, and right. So again, there's a lot of reason why we would do that. Again, I brought it up yesterday where we've taken chiefs of police and police officers. They just come across that border because they got to go. And say, hey, look, I'm a police officer down there. I've helped the U.S. and somebody's trying to kill me. And we give them amnesty. Thank you, Lord. Well, I don't believe the only argument is the communicable diseases. I believe there's others. So again, so so be prepared to present the information anyway. So if the court says, well, the communicable disease thing, yes, no, but you've said, you've explained your national emergency, and we believe it's a national emergency, and we believe until the numbers are reduced to a certain point that it's just too risky for everybody, that the immigrant, the officers, the U.S. citizen who's being, raped or murdered, right? We've lost control of who's here. We can't even tell you whether they've killed an immigrant. Right. And there's nobody necessarily to report it, or they would be afraid to report it. So that's the other thing they establish. And I brought it up that in Santa Fe, I found a organized crime and racketeering entity that was at least strong arming, most likely the coyotes, and probably some narcotics distribution, sex trafficking. So what happens when the numbers go like that? We have impenetrable communities where we have strong arming going on. And again, in that aspect, you get sex trafficking, you get slavery. Right. I know FBI agents, they rescued this one young lady from this guy that was about to kill her. I think she was beat up, and they were able to track them, and they were able to rescue her. So that scenario probably plays out a lot more than we know. 100%. Where she was in bondage to that guy and being abused. Again, there's an idea of regaining the vision, the sight, and they'll understand that we can't maintain what we need to maintain. And again, even for the immigrants' sake, because they're in these impenetrable, non-assimilating communities. Thank you, Larry. Again, that's another reason to push assimilation, so that we can there's a flow and exchange of information between communities, right, between law enforcement and their people, instead of the racketeering boss tells them what they say and what they don't say. Right. Again, reestablishing law and order. Well, even in a non-immigrant community, if law enforcement has a higher workload, which they do, if every immigrant that comes here, that's another person that we either have to protect or arrest, or both, probably both, right? And I'm not saying that like they're all criminals. It's just the idea that, it's an increased workload. And then you have to, well, I agree to take care of people. I mean, we probably have taken in so many refugees that at this point, that really takes up most of our effort, and should, because these are approved operations. Well, it's just like my charity work. I said once they chop the roots, so you have to be careful. Like that's why I can't go out and do charity now. They've done so much to encumber my life and screw it up and screw my health that I can't do all the charity I used to do. Again, you always have to maintain that root system, that trunk, before you can branch out and do all the charity that you want. So we've the roots in the trunk are falling, the tree's falling over. So again, that's another thing that the bishop doesn't know, that we're not effectuating the charity that we say we are, and we're actually ruining it for people we used to help because all the money was shifted. We got veterans that aren't getting disability. We got homeless people that are just out there because there's no money for they could have, with the money that was spent, you could have gave them houses and everything else, at least tiny houses. So again, homelessness isn't going away. So the Trump administration is going to be faced with that. The idea that we just throw them in prison, that doesn't necessarily work. Again, I never really thought much about the death penalty, but I used to have the poster of the hanging judge, or the hanging marshal, George Maladon, I guess was his name, and he was the hanging judge's marshal. So again, I didn't really think about it. When I woke up, I said, well, the scripture says we're not supposed to do that. So again, the death penalty is because it's a vibration. It's an action. So you justify killing somebody, then they justify killing somebody. And then it's just a matter of powering. So with all the narcotics they sell, they can justify killing people because you justify killing people. You see. So again, there is a section of Christianity that does not buy into the death penalty. Just to let you, and they're probably in the right. Correct. Again, once somebody is taken into custody and they're no longer a threat to the community, we cannot make the argument. Again, early on, I made the self-defense argument, even in the light of Jesus's stuff. So, again, thank you, Lord. So again, that's where I cut it off. Again, Jesus said no self-defense. So again, there's a point where you have to say, okay, where's the trade-off? Right. I don't believe there's deterrence because there's a lot more to it. Some of the immigrant murders are because people that hate immigrants will it up. Again, you all should understand that if you're anywhere in the world making money. Or not everybody, but to a certain degree. And then, of course, people not making money could understand that too. So it's a metaphysical. So that's why I said reduce the friction. Because when you don't reduce the friction, that kind of stuff increases, but then it can also increase as far as you being killed. Right. So once you're actually with them and making the argument that some people need to be killed. The rest happens based upon who has more money, who has more power, who has more influence. And in some communities, you all don't have influence. So then you can't solve a case, can't get forward of murders. It's all metaphysics, actually. But again, there's psychology and there's physical, and that does affect how metaphysics move. Because based upon your psychology, they can force you to change your metaphysical projection based upon psychology and how you feel physically. And God actually uses that to rule them for attacking, because then they get hit back metaphysically. Because they make somebody feel angry or bad or whatever it is. Again, they're pretty ignorant, though. I don't think they learn from anything. It's like ants. They're like ants going into the water, Just walking to their death. But, there's enough of them that, well, some of us survived. Thank you much. It's actually a pretty nice day, and I think I need to drink Gatorade. For a while, I was drinking Gatorade. So they will things away, and I just don't get to them, I was using a less electrolytes and minerals without all the fluff, but I just don't think it does the same. Right. I was just having trouble with it. I don't know if they changed the recipe or what. It just wasn't working like the Gatorade is. So I had during the day, I'll drink one Gatorade. So that's for if you guys get older, sometimes that's a good idea, right? Just to grab one Gatorade a day. and re-energize yourself, replenish yourself. I do the no sugar one. Right. So as we bring people into the border again, in Texas they've have been using a lot of stuff. I started advising Texas on and off probably about 2008, something like that. I was on the governor had a website where you could do that. We put in suggestions. So I was one of the people that told them to increase the Texas Navy. I forget which incident it was where I came up with that. So I was on their I don't know, I guess it's like a chat room bulletin board thing. It's back when I think, and then I helped. The next one was with Yearning Zion. Put a suggestion in on Yearning Zion. I mean, they owe me a lot of money. Texas owes me money. Especially, see, you wouldn't owe me as much money if when I went there you didn't try to kill me. I mean, you take the money. You're money grubbers. And then you try to make an excuse as to why you took the money, but it's all bullshit when you get to that. So we're going to get a reprieve today. It's going to start getting warmer. Not as warm as I would hope it would be, but definitely much warmer than it's been. And then we have some 40s and 50s. We actually have a couple of days of 50s, they're saying, if it holds out. And it might, because all that cold weather all that polar weather can cause a reversal. Because I've noticed that in the Midwest especially. You get a lot of cold weather, then it gets hot real quick, or warmer than usual, uncharacteristically or unseasonably warm for a little while. Right. So since we had so much cold weather, we might have a rebound. And that would be nice, have an early spring. I got a lot to do. I got to clean up my apartment. I got to probably get rid of some of the stuff here and try to restore my life. They've been hitting me pretty hard for quite a while. They may have been drugging me. I may have been tightening up and didn't realize it. And that comes from their drugging, believe me. I mean, they're sickos, man. It's that far going. And then they act like something wrong with the person. So they drug a person, the person has an issue in life, and then they laugh about it and say something's wrong, and disparage the person. I mean, they're just sickos, man. Lifelong sickos. They put themselves in those positions because then they have a cover story. Oh, but we're doing this, and this is the cases we worked. Thank you, Larry. Then I got to return some things to Amazon. I've been ordering a lot of stuff. I was going to return some to Walmart, but I don't know if I'm going to get to that. I mean, the food items I might just keep. I definitely do have a thermometer I ended up with like 5 thermometers. I don't think that many, but like 3 or 4 of them. I need to return one of them. It's still in the box. I just didn't want to push, getting back to the regular rigmarole until it warmed up a little. So again, that was a satanic season. These things happen at times. So again, their curses coincided with it. So the way they cursed my life, the way they altered my life. But if I made it through COVID so quick without really my vitamin, see, when you use vitamins, you have to use it because it takes a while to build it up in your system. So if you start taking vitamins when COVID hits, it's going to be quite a few days before anything really builds up. The trick is to stay on it. It may have been why I never had COVID, at least with symptomatically. Right. Because I stayed up on my the elderberry and the vitamin A, vitamin C, and then a regular multivitamin. But I was struggling to take it, and they know that because you won't buy vitamins as much, so they just keep casting spells psychologically manipulating, right, breaking in, and then all of a sudden I'm taking like 1 a week or 2 a week or something because I can't get to it. So it was all a major hit, all that was going on. And it was very strange that I scheduled surgery and then all of a sudden I got sick. And it was obvious that they broke in. So again, we need to control what's going on in this country. And what they're going to try to do is sell it to you. They already have a bullshit story. And like I told you, if you buy into it, you're going to end up taking out people that aren't deep state. Because they already have the people that they've manipulated to say this is the deep state. While the deep state leads you around to kill the people that aren't the deep state. It's in everything they do. Like, oh, this is the leaker, but they're actually the leaker. Remember the leaker investigations? And when you look at the people they arrest for being the leaker, they're not the deep state. They're just some schmuck that they put into it. So when it's like their escape route once you start investigating it. Oh, there they are. There they are. They're already there. Right? Oh my God. They always have the fall people. Right? That's what they probably did with John and I. We were probably the fall people for something they did. But they wanted to kill us anyway. So you see how it all fits together. That's spycraft. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.